This is how to use a home wrestling mat, because a lot of home wrestling mats are sitting there and they're not getting used. Number one, I would try to get, unless you already have one, I would get a 12 by 12, 12 by 14. I would not get a 10 by 10 or an 8 by 8. An 8 by 8 is a complete waste of money. A 10 by 10 is very close to being a waste of money. Your kids are just going to outgrow it. So spend a little extra money. Skip a couple of tournaments if you have to, and take that $150, or if it's a quote national tournament, take that $1,500 or $900 or whatever you're spending on it, and buy a home wrestling mat. Skip the tournament and take that money and get one. Secondly, you're going to get 1 or 2 partners, probably 2, because you want to work around schedules and some kids may not make it, so they can come over and train with you. Number 3, you're going to get a schedule, and you're going to say, okay, every Sunday from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30, 11:30 to 1, 11:30 to 1:30, or fill in the blanks. You come up with a schedule and you stick to that schedule. And if the other kids can't be there, at least you have a backup. So I feel like you kind of need 2, or maybe you schedule one night with one and then one night with the other. The 4th thing I would do is I would get our online wrestling academy, and I would master the basics phase. Even if you have a wrestler who has wrestled a long time, they still don't know things that are on the basics phase. They don't know how to make contact. It's called left hand stab. You keep your right pick over your right knee. You keep your right eye over your right foot. When you make contact, you don't swing your head and shoulders sideways. You don't reach up. I mean, there's just things on the basics phase that your kids don't know. So, basics phase. Then what you're going to do is you're going to hit 20 to 30 reps of every technique. The super duper easy stuff, hit 20 reps. The harder stuff, hit 30 reps. Go to the next technique. You're going to go as fast as possible, right? So you have an iPad set up, or maybe you have a little TV down there, and you just watch it, and then you go. Okay, next technique, next technique, next technique. And you can even just go to the technique page and print screen. That's the technique list. So you tape that to the wall, and then you're going to just peck through the list. And then the next practice, you're going to hit 10 reps of everything that you did before. Then you're going to do 20 to 30 reps of what you did next. Then the third practice, you're going to maybe hit 3 or 4 reps, 5 reps of what you did, then 10, and then 20 to 30 of the new stuff. And then the 4th practice, you're just going to skip the stuff that you did the first time, and you're going to get through the list, okay? Because you can't have 4-hour practices. And then once you get through and you've hit every technique 20 to 30 times once, 10 to 20 times the second time, and then 5 to 10 reps the third time, and you just remove it off the list and you just keep going down. Then after a handful of practices, you say, how many will that take? Well, if you have a 4.5-hour practice, you might get through it all. And you have a 14-year-old kid who's wrestled 7 years. You have a 5-year-old, okay, and you're only practicing once a week. It's going to take longer. Don't worry about it. Just get through it. Then you're going to go into phase 1. Or no, then you're going to take that practice plan. You're just going to hit like 5 reps of everything on the technique. And you're going to highlight the technique that looked terrible. You're like, we got to do more of this. And you're going to just pound the crap out of it and master it. The easy stuff, you're like, oh, I hold my hand this way on a half Nelson, not like this. See, you don't ever have to drill that again. So some techniques, especially in the basics phase, they're tricks and adjustments, and hold your hand this way, don't hold your hand that way. Those are not really techniques that you have to drill 80 times a day for the rest of your life. You just don't have to. Now, fake, elbow pass, chase a leg, single leg, hey, you need to drill that a lot. You're never, it's like a backhand in tennis. You're never going to master it. You've got to constantly hone that edge. So once you've gone through that, you do phase 1. Then you do phase 2, then you do phase 3. That is it. And then once you've done all of this, let's say it takes 3 months or less, now you have the practice plan taped to the wall. You have maybe a black little line written through the stuff that you really don't have to drill anymore. You have the main stuff highlighted. And you should also get to the point where your wrestler can read the technique. So if I say the word apple, a picture of an apple popped into your head. If I say the word or the phrase sliding into home plate, a video clip or fireman's carry, a video clip of someone sliding into home plate or hitting a fireman's carry pops into your head. You can't stop that from happening. So when your kids get to the point where they can read the technique and know what it is, now you're on your way. And see, once you complete all 4 phases, you probably know more technique than 98% of the high school coaches in America. And you say, well, that's a great big arrogant statement. It's just the truth. Once you master this, it's going to change your career. Then, from there, you're just in a maintenance phase. And you say, well, I learned this technique at this other camp or from this coach. Hey, cool. Yeah, go ahead, do it. I learned 7 different ways to finish a cross-face cradle. Okay, that's not on our... We didn't show every wrestling technique ever invented in the sport of wrestling over the past 25,000 years, which is how old wrestling is. See, that's not a system. And you're like, man, I have a weightlifting system, but I really like to do these rotational wrist curls like I saw Spencer Lee do with a kettlebell. Go ahead. And now, is that going to be on the Get Strong as Hell weightlifting program that you bought from NebraskaFootball.com? Probably not. But hey, knock yourself out. But for the most part, 80% of your points come from 20% of what you do. So we want to focus on that. And that is ultimately what we are into, is focusing on those core skills. And there's about 272, if I remember correctly, techniques, but some of those are tricks, so don't feel like you're going to get overwhelmed. And they're broken down into phases, and every phase is broken down into a specific position, and every technique from the position is mapped out step by step, so it's not anything to get overwhelmed. It's pretty simple, and you're going to give yourself a few months to peck through it, and it's going to make an unbelievable difference. But once you have that mastered and your kids can read the technique, and then you're just going to from there, you're just really going to focus on phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 if you're older. And if you're, let me back up, if you're drilling with a youth wrestler, 7, 8, 9-year-old first-year wrestler, you're going to skip phase 2 and phase 3. For 1 year, you're not even going to touch it. You're going to do basics in phase 1. Then, after a year, you're going to add phase 2. Then after a year of that, you're going to add phase 3. So by the time they're on their 3rd or 4th year. So only go through all the phases if you have a very experienced middle school or a high school wrestler with 2-year-plus seasons under their belt, because they learn faster, and that's just the way it is. So now you're just in maintenance phase. So what does maintenance phase mean? That means, let's say you have an 8-year-old. You have the basics phase in phase 1. You just put a few lines through it. Okay, I divided that one up into 3 chunks. This is divided up into 3 chunks. Okay, let's just drill the first section of the basics phase. It's at 15 reps of each. Good. If there's room, do some live wrestling. Good. Or maybe you say, well, hey, we're really on a roll. Let's go ahead and do the second part too. Good. See, because now you have 6 practice plans. And then you just rotate through. And you say, wouldn't it be good to drill all the phase, every technique on every phase, every practice? Probably not, because now we're just spending 30 seconds on each technique, and it's not good. So it's just like a gymnast. This is my philosophy. Today is balance beam day. This is all we're doing for the next 3 days is balance beam. That's it. Because what happens is you pick a apparatus and you just really dump a massive amount of times into that one apparatus. So from a technique standpoint, I like to say divide up your technique list into 2 to 3 pieces and really get a lot of reps in this chunk on Monday. And then on Thursday, you say you do chunk or section number 2, and you maybe have a good day and you say, we'll just do both of it. Okay, so now you have you have all the basics hammered out. You did section 1 Monday, section 2 and 3 you did Thursday. Next Monday, when your friends come over, do section 1 on phase 1, and then you start over on the basics. And then obviously the super duper easy stuff, you're like, hey, hit 3 and 3. Okay, good, very nice. Go on. Oh, this is more difficult. Single A finish from the knees when the partner sprawls on top of you. Okay, we're gonna go 2 minutes. You're gonna go 2 minutes, or you can count reps. You say, okay, you're gonna hit 10 reps. Time. Now your partner hits 10. Let's do that again. Okay. Go to the next technique. So there really is no right or wrong approach on reps. The easy stuff, don't spend an hour on. The harder stuff, spend more time on. And what you're going to find is after 2 or 3 or 4 sessions, what once was hard is now easy. Okay, now I hit 5 reps of that. Good. Now 2 weeks ago, we had to drill this for, a bunch of times because it didn't look good, but now you're really looking nice. And then you just keep drilling through this stuff. And obviously the middle school and high school kids, they're going to do this with basics, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and eventually probably just not do the basics. There's some overlap between the basics phase and phase 1, and I did it on purpose because I wanted this to be a practice plan for coaches to type out and print the basics phase, tape it to the wall. That's your practice plan for the youth teams or the beginner high school, middle school kids, and then phase 1 for the advanced youth and the experienced middle school and high school kids, just to say, hey, here's a varsity practice plan, tape it to the wall. So there's a little bit of overlap. So the experienced kids will eventually just do phase 1 and phase 2. That's where you spend most of your time. And if they're really hardcore and they're doing phase 3, now we have phase 1, 2, and 3 taped to the wall, and we divide it up in sections, and we're drilling through that. And now they're obviously quite a bit more. A 14-year-old is a different kid than a 7-year-old. So, they're probably going to drill through all of phase 1, or maybe just drill it, put it in half. So now you have phase 1, 2, and 3 divided in half. You have 6 practice plans. Sometimes they'll get through 2. If they're running short on time, they'll just get through 1 bit. Now, what about live wrestling on the home mat? If there's room, I like live wrestling. I think you do a lot of live wrestling. In fact, I know you do. That's what you do. Now, the gymnast can just do her moves in gymnastics, and she can compete in a tournament, and it doesn't look any different. A wrestler can drill their techniques in a practice, but they actually have to compete under live conditions. So a lot of live wrestling is important. A lot of focus on the drill time and skill time. And if you're on an off-season program or in-season, high school kids, you can hit some reps of this stuff on a Sunday. The youth and middle school coaches or the parents, man, probably better off just practicing once or twice a week with them and practicing once or twice a week on your own. You almost they're drilling half Nelsons. You're just going there mostly for the live wrestling. But your goal is to be able to take the bull by the horns and bypass the team and not have to drill with. Your skill development's got to come on your own for the most part. Even if you have a great youth program, they've got dads on the mat, they got 50 kids, most of them are beginners, they got to have time for a game. I mean, it's just tough. You want to take the bull by the horns. So that's how I would use a home wrestling mat. If you're interested in our online academy, it's like $250 to join, and it's $19 a month. So that is at perlerwrestling.com. We also have summer camps, all sorts of things at perlerwrestling.com. So we'd love to have you. Competition camps also, private team camps. You can bring us to your town. We can do that too. We do it all. Thank you guys.